Welcome, everyone, to the webinar, Unlocking Innovation and Scalability with SAP Digital Manufacturing, Quick Value Delivery and Best Practices, sponsored by Engineering Industries Excellence. I'm Sean Byers from SAP Insider, and I have a couple of quick announcements before we begin. This session is being recorded, and a copy of today's recording will be emailed to every single one of you following the session. If you are joining us live, the webinar is designed to be interactive between you and the presenters. And we invite you to submit your questions using the Q&A text box at the bottom of your screen. After the presentation, we will answer as many questions as time allows. Joining me today is Martin Gore, Business Development Manager, Jeff Martin, Senior Account Executive, and Kevin Bader, Digital Manufacturing Delivery Lead, all from Engineering Industries Excellence. Over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar. We're very excited to talk about the latest with SAP Digital Manufacturing. I do apologize. I'm having some video issues, so you probably will not see my face today. Maybe that's a good thing. We'd like to start off the webinar by talking about some of the market challenges that we see with our customers, and that probably a lot of you are familiar with in your organizations and seeing the market fluctuate and the demands from outside factors. Let's go to the actually, I apologize. Let's go back. Let me cover the full agenda first. So we're going to talk about market challenges, and then we're going to switch to talking about manufacturing best practices. We're going to dive into the SAP Digital Manufacturing solution with a short video. Kevin is going to talk about the latest with SAP Digital Manufacturing. We're going to talk about what a transition from maybe the SAP ME and MII solution, if you're running that, to SAP Digital Manufacturing, or if you are net new and looking to implement SAP DM for the first time. So we'll talk about the variables involved in that decision making and the roadmap there. Martin will cover a few of our most recent SAP Digital Manufacturing customer success stories. Then we'll talk about, why start now? Why is SAP Digital Manufacturing relevant now? Where is it in the roadmap for SAP? Where is it in the roadmap for your organization? Towards the end, we'll cover a little bit more about our company, Engineering Industries Excellence, and our different portfolio of service offerings. And then at the end, we'll have a section for Q&A. So along the way, if you have any questions, please post those to the chat, and then Sean will read those to us at the end, and we will address any questions that any of you have. So thank you again for joining. So as we consider the market challenges, there's a number of variables, and a lot of that can depend on what industry you're in, geographic region you're in. Some of the things that we see are high material and high labor costs. The market is constantly evolving with politics, with geopolitical factors, with the cost of fuel fluctuating, transportation costs, and then labor costs obviously change quite a bit as in a dynamic society. So these are some of the variables that we see most common that companies will always have to react to plan for and accommodate. And one thing we're going to talk about is digital manufacturing, aligning your manufacturing processes to adapt to these changing costs. We also see a lack of visibility to business process and also your assets. From the manufacturing line to ordering parts, ordering raw materials. Not having that visibility can create challenges for your manufacturing process. So these are some of the variables that affect most customers. And then finally, one of the other key areas are strict industry regulations. The regulatory landscape is constantly changing and expanding into new industries. Some organizations sell products in these regulated markets, and if so, they should expect the requirements to continuously evolve. Some of the factors that dictate these regulatory compliance requirements are safety, sustainability, decarbonization. There's a lot of movement for companies to reduce their carbon footprint. So that's a big factor. There's also IT and OT inefficiencies to consider, constantly evolving. There's also a lack of real-time data synchronization across systems within companies. So these are some of the market challenges we see. There's difficulties in scaling the operations. Companies want to stay competitive by being, faster to market, so that they stay competitive and remain on that cutting edge. So they're constantly evaluating what competitors are doing, what the industry is dictating. And then there's also a growing need for automation to address the challenges posed by the higher cost and also the new labor force. There's a constant battle to find skilled labor. So these are some of the challenges we see in the market. Now, depending on your industry, you can see different challenges and variables that affect your day-to-day job, your company, or your specific industry. These are just some of the most typical ones that we see and that our customers talk to us about. Next slide. So talking about manufacturing best practices. Taking on a digital transformation project, especially digital manufacturing, very key to define the benefits that the digital manufacturing initiative or project or program will bring to your company and to your customers. Some of the benefits that your company hopes to drive will affect from the shop floor, the engineering department, even the finance team and the sales team. So the impact should be felt across the organization in a very positive way, and it's important to define the benefits up front so that everybody's on the same page and everybody's driving toward the same objective. Now, part of that is communicating how the organization will define the success of the digital manufacturing project and what the objectives are of the initiative. The success of the project can be defined by improved efficiencies, improved quality of the manufacturing process. As we mentioned before, the reduction of material cost, reducing waste, or minimizing any rework that's required in your manufacturing of your product or your parts before it's sent on to the buyer or the next step of the manufacturing process. Then it's also important to determine how you measure meeting the goals of the digital manufacturing initiative. What metrics are you going to put in place? How are you going to capture the return on the investment? So that's very important to determine how it's going to be measured and when that's going to be measured. As with most projects, setting clear expectations of the roles and responsibilities that the organization expects from everyone, from, again, the engineering department to the manufacturing, the shop floor, to even maintenance and preventative maintenance. So clearly defined expectations for each department are very important to the success of the overall project. And this is ongoing. It's not just a short project that is one and done a few months. This is an ongoing transformation that would continue to evolve. So at the end, it's also very important to evaluate any inefficient business processes that could be in place. Digital manufacturing initiative is a prime opportunity to identify, improve, or change any inefficient existing business processes or manufacturing processes. So some of the drivers of digital transformation initiatives, an effort to reduce the time to market, producing a product that is very dependent on the whims of the market and the consumer. So being flexible is very important. So digital manufacturing enhances the flexibility that your manufacturing operations provide to provide the customers what they're asking for, and if any changes are needed along the way. Digital manufacturing also can improve the efficiencies and the quality of the manufacturing process. It also gives better control over the accuracy of the data in the manufacturing process. It also is very critical part of the end-to-end supply chain visibility. So providing traceability from the inventory management side, receiving the raw materials, having an efficient manufacturing process, and then shipping that to your customers or to the next step of your manufacturing process. Having that visibility, digital manufacturing helps to provide that traceability. And as we all know that cybersecurity and the risks of data integrity are always a factor, more so every day. So digital manufacturing helps to address that in providing a secure manufacturing process and data along the line. And then also it provides that data to allow for more intelligent and faster decision making. So our company, Engineering Industries Excellence, is structured and well positioned, very strategically and intentionally to help companies drive digital transformation with the digital thread. So when we look at the engineering side of organizations, we provide solutions for product design and engineering, product lifecycle management, product configuration management, digital simulation and automation, and even manufacturing process planning. So from the very basics of starting to manufacture a new plant, if you've acquired a plant, if you're bringing a new plant online for the first time, Engineering Industries Excellence has solutions and deep expertise to help you in that planning process. Pardon me, I had a technical issue there. 1 second. Okay. And then in the middle pillar of our service offerings, digital manufacturing. So we are experts at longtime experts at implementing MES systems, long history of implementing SAP ME and MII. And then what Martin will talk about is some of our latest success stories implementing the most recent SAP digital manufacturing solutions for some global customers. We also specialize in SAP asset management and asset performance and maintenance, quality management, material management, and industrial automation. And then finally, throughout the supply chain, we specialize in digital track and trace, serialization of products that allows you to have visibility from the beginning to the end of your full supply chain. We also support warehouse and logistics management, sales and operations, and then also field service management for all your activities for your sales team, and also servicing any assets out in the field. And then across all of this, we do digital twin, digital simulation for the manufacturing process, for product development, a number of applications and use cases for digital twin solutions. And over to you, Kevin.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever it is you're joining us from around the globe. We appreciate you listening in on this. So the next section I'm going to take you through is a high-level overview on what digital manufacturing is, the SAP tool. So this isn't really intended to be a demonstration of the tool for you, but I did want to at least highlight, what is this tool designed to do? Like, what's its purpose in the SAP portfolio? So I'll go through that solution overview. And then I've got a short video rather than talk a lot about what this may look like. I'm going to show you. So for those of you that haven't seen SAP's digital manufacturing, or as they call it, DM module, if you haven't seen it yet, the video will give you a little example of what it looks like. So the front end of the video, just to set it up before we get there, is you're going to see what configuration looks like, right? So you're going to see kind of the drag and drop and visual aspect to configuration, which is pretty dynamic and pretty interesting. And then we'll show you in that video a little bit of kind of the day in life of a user, right? So you're going to see an example of what's called a production operator dashboard. And I've got an example in kind of an assembly type of application, more discrete, where you'll see some drawings and some work instruction. And then I also have on the back end an example of process as well. So whether you're into discrete or process, you should see a little bit, but that should give you a little idea of what the tool looks like. And then we'll finish with, how do you go about getting from your current state to implementing something like SAP's digital manufacturing. Okay? So with that, I'm going to jump into some of the kind of key capabilities, right? So you look at SAP's DM module, the digital manufacturing. What is it really designed for, right? It is absolutely in the center of the supply chain, right? So as Jeff talked about the digitization process, people wanting to, extend their supply chain and digitize that supply chain. Well, at the heart of your supply chain, of course, is your make process, right? So that is really the center of the supply chain. So optimizing that is obviously important, right? So what does DM do? Really a couple things, right? It's to help you execute, right, and orchestrate the movements of your work through the make process, right, and then give you that ability to help better manage that from an actual shop floor execution perspective, and then, of course, collect the right data so that you can run analytics around what it is that your make process is doing, how well you're performing, how it relates to the business, and some of the things that Jeff spoke about earlier in his presentation, okay? So, we look at that, right? Just keep in mind, right? DM is about giving a shop floor user a good experience, helping guide them through their work instructions, what it is that they have to do, when they have to do it, assuring the sequence at which they're doing things, and then kind of creating that digital thread throughout that. So at the end of that, you can be able to analyze what actually happened and then look for areas to improve, right? That's ultimately what DM is positioned and designed to do. So with that, right, one of the things that many of our clients tell us, and I'm sure most of you are looking to drive paper out of your process, right? even get rid of things like Excel spreadsheets, right? But try to get rid of paper and digitize things, put things onto screen, onto glass where you can represent what's happening. So certainly driving paper out of your production system, leveraging some of the automation you may have in place, collecting that data automatically through systems, presenting that information to people is clearly one of the things that SAP's DM is very good at, right? It's one of the things it's designed for, right? So, keep that in mind, and everybody's automation is a little bit different. Everybody's capabilities are a little bit different. What you produce and how you produce is different, but I think you'll see when we get into DM, it's pretty dynamic in being able to handle multiple different scenarios there. So the other thing I want to point out too, when we talk about kind of the orchestration, we often think of like line optimization, plant optimization, asset optimization, those types of things. But DM also keeps track of and puts into the right context your labor, right? So being able to see the folks that are working in your manufacturing environment, how efficient are they being, right? How does their activity conform to what best practices are, what your goals and standards are as you lay out improving and digitizing your supply chain in the center of your supply chain, right? And then, of course, the other thing, DM is it's a cloud-based solution from SAP, and it's absolutely scalable. So you can literally start with a single a single line or a single process to an entire plant, to groups of plants, and ultimately an enterprise, right? So part of what you'll see is the ability to collect data from different manufacturing facilities, roll that all up, run some of the SAP analytics, and be able to start to compare and contrast. And again, all for the purposes of how are we doing, and then ultimately where are our areas of opportunity, right? Where should we be looking to drive out those inefficiencies and get the gains that we're looking for, right? And one of those manufacturing metrics that you may be familiar with is OEE, or overall equipment effectiveness, right? So that is one of those things that is kind of out of the box, very known, and a very standard part of most digital manufacturing implementations that we get involved with. Okay? So that's very high level DM. Again, keep in mind, the purpose of this isn't necessarily to, give you a deep dive into DM. We have our own DM environments. Our organization at Industry Excellence can, show you demonstrations of the tool, how things work. We can show those to you in the context of what it is that your specific company is trying to achieve for your goals. This was just to kind of give you a high level idea. So having said that, I want to point out two things, because this is a question that we often get, and that is, so digital manufacturing, is that really for certain type of manufacturing? Is it a discrete solution only, or is it designed for process? Well, the answer is both. In fact, SAP actually has two different managers that help manage the development and the future roadmap of these products, one for the discrete industries and one for process. So I just wanted to highlight that digital manufacturing, right? So when you look at some of the capabilities we typically see if you're in a discrete manufacturing environment, right? A lot of whip tracking and assembly and visual work instructions and part visualization, collecting data in line, quality data in line, printing labels, those types of things. Those are all very normal kind of standard functionalities that you'll see in the discrete space. But if you're a process customer, right? So you're making batches of things, or continuous runs of things, and not really an assembly type. There's a whole set of functionality that DM has that is specifically designed for process industry. So in the discrete space, for example, we would typically pull down a production order from SAP ERP, right? In the process space, we would pull down a process order. So differentiators there. In the process space, we would see things like batches or recipes and phases to your execution of batches. So things that are a little bit different than maybe a digital work instruction of an assembly operation, which you would see on the digital side. So again, you can read the slides here and see the details, but I did want to call that out because it's a question we common get, right? Is that DM can be implemented and has certain features and functions that are very specific to meet the requirements of discrete manufacturers, but it also has features and functions that are designed for the process space. And again, a lot of people ask about that. So I want to make sure, whether you're, assembling, an automobile or you're making, batches of a beverage, DM can be applied in both of those spaces. Okay. So having said that, I'm going to jump next to a little video. So I'm going to let this video play. Again, keep in mind it's kind of three sections as you look at this video. One is, hey, I want to configure this system. What does my configuration environment look like? So what I wanted to illustrate here is it is a kind of low code design environment, right? So it's the ability to visually construct my business process and do configuration through a visible interface. Then we'll move into, hey, what does it actually look like, a day in the life of an operator in a discrete manufacturing process? And then it finishes with a similar example in the process space. And then you'll see the analytics that I talked about earlier. So if you're helping orchestrate and guide through the execution process within DM, the collection of that data, the organization of that data to provide good analytics is kind of the finishing end of the process for DM. So with that, I'm going to play the video and give you a look at this. Awesome. Thank you for you letting me play that video a little bit. Again, just to recap, if you guys have questions about that, please feel free to put those in the chat. But the purpose of really showing that, for those of you that haven't seen what DM looks like, hopefully that gave you a bit of an idea of what that looks like. It is a very modern, very fresh looking interface, and the configuration and design very graphical. So those are significant steps forward, and I think pretty exciting features that SAP has put into the DM product. Again, if you want more of a deeper dive, please reach out to our team, and we'll be more than happy to, get into our environment and show you more specifically to your needs, what that might look like. But hopefully it gives you an idea of, at least if you haven't seen it, what digital manufacturing looks like from SAP. All right, so next, you've got kind of an overview of where DM is positioned inside of an organization, right? In that footprint of your technology stack, that middle part, the orchestration of your shop floor. So now the question becomes, how do I get there, right? So that transitioning from wherever your current state is today into SAP DM, right? How do I get there? So, as Jeff talked about, right, the digitization process, people are, you have to move, right? You have to get away from paper. You have to get away from manual processes. You have to start to digitize your manufacturing processes, right, to keep up with the industry best practices, right? So if you're somebody, really, I think you're probably in one of three categories. From a manufacturing execution perspective, maybe you're utilizing SAP's ME, the manufacturing execution tool, which is a current tool, or SAP's manufacturing intelligence and integration, that's MII. So if you're an ME or MII user, we'll show you the path to migrate from there. If you're running a different, a non-SAP MES system, that would be a second scenario. And again, we can show you kind of where in that environment you can get to and move to DM. Or the third example, maybe you don't have anything, right? Maybe you're in the beginning parts of your journey. You haven't invested in a manufacturing execution system, or, you're working on your automation layers to be able to prepare your business for digitizing your manufacturing process. We can walk you through what that looks like, right? So why is that transition important, right? I mean, regardless of where you're at, I think it's pretty clear to be competitive in manufacturing sectors moving forward that you have to go through this journey, right? And everybody starts their journey in a different place. And what that journey looks like is often different. There's a lot of key principles. There's some good best practices, and we'll share those with you. But certainly, we're not looking to cookie cut this and say everybody's the same, because our, 25 years of experience tells us everybody's journey is a little bit different, right? Drivers are a little bit different. Automation levels are different. Access to capital is a little bit different. The people part of the process is different. But nonetheless, it still doesn't prevent you from getting there, right? So we've created a structured approach, right? And the structured approach is really, for us, designed to get you there as quickly as possible, right? But minimize your risks in doing that, right? And try to get the greatest gains that you can from implementing a system like this. So understanding what those values are and presenting those to you is one of the things that we can help you with. So what does our structured approach look like, right? That mitigation plan to move you from either no system or an previous SAP solution or a third-party manufacturing system. How do we get you there? So we have a process we call Pathfinder. It's a Pathfinder assessment, right? And the Pathfinder is really designed to help literally put onto paper for you, what does your journey look like? Where do you start? What are the steps along the way that are going to get you to an implementation? So typically that's a 2 to 4 week effort. And in that, right, we come in and assess what your current manufacturing environment looks like, right? If you're running ME or MII or a different third-party MES or none at all, we look at those functionalities, those capabilities. We look at your automation, right? And then we analyze that against, okay, what are the capabilities of DM? How do we map what you currently have into DM? How do we identify the gaps that would exist between the capabilities of where you're at today and what DM can deliver for you, right? We also then align with SAP's roadmap, because digital manufacturing is the current and future system for SAP in this space. And they've done a great job of putting out a roadmap that they update quarterly, and they have offerings that come out literally every quarter that add additional functionality. It's been very dynamic, very exciting in that space. So we want to align your goals with what that roadmap is for the SAP DM product, right? And then obviously we want to document that. We want to talk about and identify the risks, identify what those rewards are, and then at the end give you that roadmap for here's how to get you either implemented in your first phase or over a series of phases. But whatever your path is, whatever your best path is, that's what we want to identify in that Pathfinder assessment process. Okay. Martin will talk to you a little bit when I'm done here about how we've done this with other customers and what that looks and feels like. So outside of the assessment of, hey, where am I at today and what does that roadmap look like? How do I get there? What's my right path? Then we have implementation services, right? So a question we often get is, what does this take, right? Is this a couple of weeks? Is this 3 years? What does it take to actually implement this SAP DM thing? So our typical implementations are 3 to 6 months, right? And those activities, what does that look like? It's fairly traditional, right? We look at design, right? Making sure that we are capturing the functional requirements, right? What does the system have to do? We get into the detailed design, which is how is the system going to meet what it has to do, right? During that design phase, right, we are looking and kind of consulting with you on what are the best practices, right? It's one thing to wander off and write a bunch of custom code. We're very against that. We want to stay out of the box as much as possible, utilize the DM product, implement it in the industry best practices manner to make it more sustainable for our clients moving forward. And I think Martin will share some of the successes we've had there. Right. And then obviously, as we move in, we want to guide you through not only the build process, but we want to support your integration testing into user acceptance testing. Obviously, project-wise, right, we perform cutover activities. We ultimately move you into a production environment. We help train, guide organizational change management activities to where we get you enabled on your system and then help you care and feed for that system moving forward. So that's what our implementations typically look like. Again, kind of typical 3 to 6 months, depending on what your ultimate scope is. But that's our implementation side. So we typically start with that Pathfinder assessment to draw out the right path for you, and then identify where an implementation makes sense, and then execute that implementation based on our structured, proven process that we follow, that we've been successful with, right? So with that, shared with you a little bit about what DM's capabilities are. How do you move from where you're currently at to DM? That's great, but have we done this before? Yeah. So I'm going to transition to Martin Gore. Martin's going to take you through some of our most recent SAP Digital Manufacturing successes and customers that have enjoyed the benefits of moving to DM. So Martin, over to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. As Kevin mentioned, right, collectively in our organization, we probably have over 25 years of experience as a company and organization in delivering SAP MES solutions across multiple industry sectors. And this is really just kind of showing you that we really have experience at what I call cross-industry. And that cross-industry experience allows us to implement SAP MES solutions historically if they were on-premise, but now in the cloud, taking into effect in terms of the issues that organizations have, and then finding the appropriate solutions for the customer within that SAP portfolio. So to give you good examples, right, of sharing what we have done within DM from an implementation perspective, I'd like to cover 2 slides. So Kevin, the first slide, please. So just from this one slide alone, you can see 3 industries: automotive tier 1, food, and you can see what maybe we can call this consumer products, right, the far right-hand side, in terms of an organization where they're making bathrooms in a pod bathrooms. So we all kind of think about pre-built houses, right, which we may have put in our back gardens in COVID. Here we're talking about a pod, which is a bathroom made in a factory, and there's many reasons why this organization does that. But what's quite interesting, though, is that if you look at the context in the text, right? So we have gone live with these customers way back as far as 2022, October, which is now 2 years now. And from a landscape perspective, you see a mix of one company starting an ECC and then moving to S4 through their digital manufacturing journey, right? We have another organization where they were S/4HANA, right? But they're really focusing on different types of technology integration to the shop floor. And then we have another organization where they're looking at not just S4, but PPDS integration and EWM. So within an SAP landscape, you can see that we have experience of industry sectors and then different back-end systems, depending on what the client is integrating to or implementing. Now, I want to talk more really about these two customers. So let's start off with the automotive supplier. Right? So this one is quite interesting. So when you think of MES deployments, either what I call high touch, meaning lots of buttons on the screen, the operator is pressing buttons, looking at work instructions, and it's very operator manual focused. On the flip side, you have MES implementations where what I call is low touch. So it's actually the SCADA system or the automation layer which is managing the process, and exceptions are then highlighted to the operator to do some kind of action. So the use case on the right-hand side is showing just that one, where it's a very low touch interaction with the operator. And the operator is only really doing is looking at work instructions and confirming there's a changeover between product A and product B. But the rest of the time, we're just using a classic global standard OPCU integration to an automation system to DM. On the left-hand side, we have a company in the UK called Howdens. They are the UK's largest kitchen manufacturer. And to give you an idea of scale, so this organization makes around 4 million individual carcasses. So imagine your kitchen at home, right? You've got a kitchen with maybe 20, 30, 40 boxes. There's a door on the front. So this company makes both the carcasses, it makes the doors and also the worktops. So for this client, the journey was very interesting because they have their own legacy MES system, which they've had for over 10 years. They were also a ME and MII customer on one particular manufacturing line. And of course, they realized that they had to then reduce the number of MES systems they had with their environment. So they engaged with us to do a proof of concept where we did a literally compare and contrast. So this is one method. So Kevin mentioned around the Pathfinder. Each customer's got his own way of doing it. It's got his own use cases and its own issues. You gauge in a different way. So the way we engage with this organization, we did a POC. We basically took that MII and ME config and configured that within DM. We did a compare and contrast, showing what you can do, what you can't do, the differences between both applications. And I was really happy to say that they said, great, we love DM. And so we actually went in, implemented a greenfield factory, this is where they are painting doors. So on the front of your kitchen, you've got a door. So they're doing custom painting. And they went live over a year ago. Currently, we're moving across their organization. They acquired 2 businesses where they make worktops. So this is the product that goes on top of your kitchen cabinets, right? Again, cut to order business, legacy ERP system. We were just part of that transformation, or that transition, I should say, where they went from a legacy ERP system to ECC. And then we took out the existing MES system they had and integrated DM to their legacy SCADA application. And what's interesting is this, we're a 2-site implementation, and we're just about to go live in the next couple of weeks. And I think what's really, really cool about this particular client is that once they've done all of this, we will go back and then rip out and replace the ME and MII landscape, because they've learned so much about DM and its capability and its flexibility, right? Without having to do traditional custom coding like you would have done in your ME and MII environment. So with a high level configurability within DM, we're actually going to be able to go back, rip out their existing application and put in DM, and then they'll have a totally harmonized cloud-based MES system landscape. So very quickly, that was an overview of the different types of projects that we've done, and should give you a good idea in terms of how flexible cross-industry and cross-process and the different types of use cases that there is within achieving an implementation with DM. So over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate you covering that. And I think that's very insightful that we represent a number of different situations from customers that are legacy, SAP, MII, different backgrounds on ECC, or migrating to S4. So thank you for covering that and some insight there. Next, we want to talk about why start now? Why start now? Why consider SAP Digital Manufacturing? So some of the key drivers of that are that SAP Manufacturing Execution and SAP Manufacturing Integration and Intelligence will reach the end of mainstream maintenance by the end of 2027 and extended support by 2030. And as of now, and there's no indication that SAP has any plans for any further releases of either ME or MII. So the path forward is digital manufacturing from SAP and from us as a partner to help support our customers in that transition. So SAP recommends transitioning to SAP DM before the end of life to avoid any disruptions. So that's why we have, a number of customers already that we have implemented. And Martin had mentioned, one of the customers went live 2 years ago. So early adopters and taking that step forward to just as companies are with going from ECC to S4. So also transitioning from SAP DM or to DM early can allow businesses to take advantage of cloud-based digital manufacturing solutions. There's also the ability to leverage DM for increasing visibility, improving control, productivity, and efficiencies in your production processes. And then I talked about before, these can result in significant cost savings and improve your competitiveness in your specific industry and in the market. So again, the common theme, the desire and the effort for your company to stay competitive and make sure you're not falling behind digitalization standards in the industry and maybe what your competitors are doing. So it's staying competitive. For increased visibility, there's DM connects business systems to shop floor equipment, providing visibility to production operations across different plants and then down to individual work centers. There is performance tracking. SAP DM provides pre-configured analytics. It helps stakeholders analyze manufacturing performance and causes. For data exchange, SAP DM enables data exchange between shop floors, reducing downtime risks. There's customization. AI tools are integrated to help customize production processes and maintaining quality and cost. There is resource management functionality to help establish and control scheduling and floor execution. And there's tool management functionality to help monitor tool usage, which that's important for maintenance, calibration, and traceability of your manufacturing assets. And then there's also manufacturing. A DM provides manufacturers to help build visibility to the supply chain to emphasize data flow and partner collaboration from parts suppliers, raw material suppliers. And then if you're a net new or greenfield customer, there's a quick return on that investment, standing up SAP Digital Manufacturing for the first time. So a little bit about our company. We got 10 minutes left. I'll go through this quickly, but about our company, Engineering Industries Excellence. We are part of a global division Industries Excellence is a global division of Engineering Group, and a leader in industrial digital transformation. Engineering Group is close to 15,000 people based out of Italy. Our division of that, Industries Excellence, represents just over 700 people, delivering worldwide, 18 offices, 12 countries, across 4 continents. We have delivered up to date over 1,500 global transformation projects. We have a footprint in many industrial markets, and provide worldwide delivery for Industry 4.0. So wide coverage, North America, Europe, South America. We have it covered if it's a global project or a local project. So then again, our value proposition across the digital thread, delivering solutions across Industry 4.0, supporting global industrial customers as a system integrator, provide end-to-end software and service capabilities. We are product agnostic because we support different solutions. We also partner globally to support customers with their rollouts, with their acquisitions or merger. So our digital manufacturing experience, we have about 400 global experts certified delivering MES for digital transformation. We have technical practices, specialized teams, global resources, capabilities for MES, MOM, asset management, industrial automation. We've delivered a lot of global projects, so we support customers in the discrete, the process, pharmaceuticals, life science, automotive, and also aerospace and defense, consumer products, food production, beverage manufacturing. So very well versed and qualified to support you with your roadmap, as Kevin touched on before. Our assessment capabilities. We would love to have more discussions with you to see where you are in your roadmap, what questions you have about digital manufacturing. With only a few minutes left, I'll turn it over to Sean to see if there's any questions from the attendees.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone. That was a really, really great presentation. To our audience, as a reminder, any questions that you have, please enter them in the Q&A chat box at the bottom of your Zoom window. We will get through as many of those as possible in the next couple of minutes. We don't have a ton of time, but if you are able to get those typed in, we will either get to them live here on the webinar, or someone from the team can reach out to you separately and make sure that you get that answer. So please make sure that you use the Q&A chat box. One quick question that we had here, do you have a customer that migrated from SAP ME to SAP Digital Manufacturing?
Yeah, I can start with it. We have several. Martin, do you want to talk a little bit more about the Howden's adventure? Because that fits that question, I believe.
I think so, yeah. Thanks, Sean, for the question. I think, as I kind of said in my earlier slide, right? So we have company Howden. In fact, actually, there is we can get access to more details by just scanning the QR code here about their journey. As I mentioned earlier on, they are an ME customer. We did a compare and contrast very open evaluation, to the extent they understood what was good, bad, and the ugly, let's say. And this was probably 2 years ago now. So DM has gone through multiple evolutions since then, based on the quarterly release. And they felt comfortable enough to go forward, because their plan was to continue rolling out ME. So they were very happy to go forward with DM. And now that they're coming to the end of implementations, they will now go back and then actually take out ME and replace that with DM. So I think that's their story is fantastic, right, in terms of that.
Sean, any more questions? Thanks.
Yeah, I think we probably have time for one more. It says we're a global company. Do you support this solution in different languages around the globe?
Yeah, so the answer to that is yes. Yeah, so as we talked about, DM is a cloud-based solution. So there's tenants actually around the globe. And our experience at Industry eXcellence is we've done global projects, including multiple language support, right? So for example, users in the US are going to see English, users in Mexico are seeing Spanish, our user community in Germany is seeing screens in the German language. So yeah, again, we're used to global implementations, supporting multiple language support, and DM supports that for us for sure. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's just about, unfortunately, all the time that we do have for today. It really has been a fascinating discussion. To our audience out there, if we didn't get to any of your questions, someone from Engineering Industries Excellence will follow up with you soon. A special thank you to Jeff, Kevin, and Martin for joining us today. And on behalf of SAP Insider and Engineering Industries Excellence, thank you to our audience for your time. And we hope that each one of you have an amazing day.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody.